Bonjour, Kinamagi and Nene Ireland and Dijnakas here, and welcome to the premiere edition of our Tier 2 Intervention Network. This is an opportunity for those students that missed a Zoom, couldn't meet in person in class, to get the teaching for the interventions. While it's best that you attend via Zooms, I hope that this resource will help you keep up with us and make gains towards the goal of you being as exceptional as you can be. So without further ado, let's get this episode going. Today's episode, the Reteach for Math 3.1. All right. In your packets today, or this week, you should have a Lesson 1 Reteach document. During this process, I would like you to complete the document with us. There may be times where I ask you to do a few independently. There will always be a few together. But in the end, I would like you to continue to complete these and then return them with the next document exchange. Lesson 1 is relating division to multiplication. And I've opted to begin with chapter 3 because that's the chapter we're at. We will occasionally go off the path in order to pick topics that will benefit us as a group in order to keep on closing that gap. Because as we like to say, we might not know it yet. So the top of this document says multiplication and division are closely related. Multiplication combines equal groups of objects to find a product. Division divides a set of objects into equal groups. We're what we like to call inverse operations. They're opposites of each other. So for example, if I took 4 groups of 6, and I'll count these out just so you can know that I'm not lying that there's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. That gives me a multiplication problem of 4 times 6. If I put them all together, I'll push them like that. Now I have those 4 columns of 6. It gives me 24. I could opt to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So 4 times 6 is 24. But what we also know is that we can undo multiplication with division. I'm going to divide those into 4 equal groups. So now suddenly I have 24 divided by 4. Division is the act of taking a whole and putting it into groups, in this case, 4 groups. So when I pull them all apart into 4 groups, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in each group. This also plays into the idea of a fact family. I now know that 4 times 6 is 24, and 6 times 4 is 24. The commutative property of multiplication tells me that I can switch the order of multiplication factors without changing the product. In another way, I can change the numbers without changing the answer. So 4 times 6 is 24, and 6 times 4 is 24. But that's only half the family. It might be just the cousins. Got to get the auntie and uncle as well. I can now also take the whole and put it into groups. And as we saw up here, 24 divided by 4 is 6. That's still right here. But I can also switch the order here and go 24 divided by 6 equals 4. So these numbers families only include 4, 6, and 24. You notice that when multiplying, the largest number is always at the end. When dividing, the largest number is always at the beginning. And then we switch the order of the other 2 numbers. And the other 2 numbers. So hopefully that'll kind of help you out. You're going to see on today's, we're going to do 1 and 3 together, and I'm going to ask you to do 2 and 4. What I will expect is that you'll write it on the paper. I'm not going to create a Google document on every lesson. Some there will be, but on today's, there likely will be one. And you'll be able to take your answers from 2 and 4 and type them into the Google form. So let's do this first one together. And I'm going to get my annotation tool out here. That's a fancy way of saying I have something to write with. And I'm going to grab the text box because it's a lot neater than my handwriting. So in each of these, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there are 4 groups. So there are 4 groups of 5. And if you remember your math facts, I can go 5, 10, 15, 20. So there's 20 is my product. If you're stuck, feel free to use a multiplication chart. If you need one of those from us, there is one in the agenda that was sent home at the beginning of the year, but I'm more than happy to send one home with you. You can also Google them using the Chrome browser on these Chromebooks. All right, so the first one was 4 times 5 equals 20. My next step is to be able to do 4 times 5 equals 20, and then switch these two right here. Switch the 4 times 5. So that gives me 5 times 4. Do I do anything to the number 20? No, it stays the same. So 5 times 4 is 20. Those are the two multiplication portions of this fact family. We now need to divide. So when I divide, I'm going to pull these apart. But I'm going to start by using my biggest number first. I don't have a division symbol, so I'm going to use this. Unfortunately, it's hard to type division symbols. They don't really give them to us very easily. So I use that. That will stand for division for what we're doing. It'll also be used in fractions, but for today, division. So how many groups were there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 20 divided by 4 equals 5. We have one more part of the family. Again, we start out with the largest number, 20. I'm going to use this for divide. And now what do you think I should put there? I went 20 divided by 4 is 5. I need to switch these two. Oops, can't do it that way. And I'm going to go 5 equals 4. 20 divided by 5 equals 4. Let's see how that turned out here. Not perfect. I'm going to go ahead and erase that and type it in a neater way for you. So 20 divided by 5 equals 4. So now one of these is identical to the other, but I'm still only using the same 3 numbers, 4, 5, and 20. So we're going to do number 3 together as well. You'll be responsible for numbers 2 and 4 when I put this live. Again, I still encourage you at the end of all this to send these papers back to me. I like to see what we're doing. So we look here and we have 5, 7, and 35. We'll begin with the multiplication. And which number should we start with first? We can choose either 5 or 7, but 35 has to be at the end because it's the largest number. This plus this times this, put it together, you have bigger. So I recommend that you always, in this situation, keep them in order. 5 came before 7, so let's go 5 times 7 is 35. I just kept them right there. Even if I had 5, 35, and 7, I would have went 5, 7. Does it matter? Ultimately, no. Now, the commutative property tells me I can switch the order of 5 and 7. So I'm going to go 7 times 5. That still equals 35. Now we have 2 multiplication. We need 2 division. What number do you think we should go first? If you said 35, you're correct. We start with our bigger one. I'm going to again use the backslash, which is located right underneath the question mark, and I'm going to pick 5 as the first one. It doesn't matter. I just noticed the 5 came first in the list of numbers. So 35 divided by 5 is 7. And then I'm going to switch the order. I got to keep the 35 first, and I'll have the 7 be in the divisor, and that'll give me a quotient of 5. Little vocab review. In division, the number being divided is dividend. This is the divisor. The answer is the quotient. In multiplication, these two are called factors. The answer is called product. And I'll keep using those as you get accustomed to the vocabulary, and then you'll have it mastered and memorized. All right. So we now have done numbers 1 and 3 together. I'm going to soon end this video, and I want you to do numbers 2 and 4. That's it. That's all you have to do. You may choose to do it on here. I'm also going to set up a Google form where you can type the 4 answers that you had into it. I want you to get a little bit of practice. If you only give me this because you don't have access to the computer, that's acceptable. It's not a problem. But for some students, they like feedback quicker. It will be available. Probably by the time you see this post. I understand interventions seem like an extra to math, but it's an important part of our math program. The goal is to have all students at as high a level as they can reach. And this is that extra help. Don't look at it as more work. It'll never be hours worth of work. Look at it as an opportunity to know it now instead of I'll know it later. Again, the word that we like to use is yet. We might not know it yet, but this is to help you get there. We are always available via email at mireland@psychchipschool.net. We do have office hours at 2 p.m. We will be reaching out and scheduling with each member of this group to find a Zoom time that might work for you. In the afternoon, more than likely. It could be during the morning on the days they have gym as well. So we'll be talking about that together. Well, I hope this was an enjoyable experience from you, and I hope you will be back on Wednesday with our next lesson, which will be a digital or a Zoom. And I hope you all have a minute. Okay, you got. I'm